God answering prayers isn't just something I believe, it's something I come to know through experience. Time and time again, I have witnessed it firsthand. No matter how often my prayers were answered, there's every single time there is still like a sense of awe. Be the time my PS4 was stolen, or just the removal of my playing cards, or even just witnessing others being blessed with their experience, there's just countless moments of these answered prayers, with a minor others that have kind of like found before me in ways that felt undeniably significant. Now, I kind of stood on the sidelines watching others get what seemed like either a divine response from an all knowing God or a pattern of coincidences just happened after just speaking to the sky, sometimes in ways that felt too personal to ignore. At what point do these experiences start becoming coincidences and start becoming like undeniable patterns? Like, have you witnessed something like that? A moment where coincidence feels so small for an explanation. How many times was it happen for one recognize it as reality? Now, honestly, I would say it takes more of this blind faith to believe that these moments are just random coincidences. To me, it's already clear that God is behind it all. Like, to say that there is no God, or just like I really amount to this so-called blind faith that this happens by chance. Now, it could be something like a demon named Calvin I, an invisible pink elephant, or just pure luck. But you could argue that. But even if I entertain those ideas, I would have to consider an other infinite number of wild possibilities, and that's not how we as humans operate. Like, we kind of form our own beliefs based on the best information we have at hand, and for me, that overwhelming evidence points to God. Now, some might say I'm just conveniently knowing the times my prayers weren't answered or just confirmation bias, but here's the thing: like, these instances are fewer that I can count on half a hand. Like, for these unanswered prayers, like, I was given a reason of what seems like one. Almost all my prayers have been answered. It kind of gets to the point where you sometimes overlook just how many these moments fall unnoticed, and I'm not the only one. Now, this happened like a couple months ago. Kind of started like about on a Sunday. What matters about that time period was that I was kind of feeling lost. I didn't know what to do with my life. I knew I kind of had these feelings beforehand, but just like I didn't know. Like, you kind of question, like, should I stay at my job at the time period, or should I go back to school for a doctorate, or should I just go back to these writing these stories I used to do? Like, I didn't really know at the time. I just know, like, during that, I felt kind of stuck. Not necessarily depressed, but, like, I felt like you kind of watching your life go by, standing still, watching paint dry. Like, what else could you do? Like, things like how I really missed my chance, or was I off track somewhere, or just somehow am I being, like, punished for some reason? I didn't know. Now, again, to be clear, I didn't think my life was over. I believe there'd be some time I look back at those days, I'd be like, wow, I didn't know I'm complaining about this stuff, or I'm stressing too much about it. I mean, I really can't. Like, I think a lot of people, when we complain about things, we have a lot of things that are going for each other. I have a roof, I have an apartment, roof in my head, I got food in the fridge, income, everything, like the basic numbers of like a first world country society says I need, in a sense. Necessities, at least, like, or what feels like necessities in today's world. You even got the disposable income. So go to Waffle House. I want to go to Waffle House. Watch Transformers 1. I want to watch Transformers 1 at the time period. I wrote Transformers 1 in there. I don't know why I put Transformers 1, but it is what it is. It basically, like, I had the things to do what I want to do, or and extra, like what I could do and stuff. Both parents, family, siblings, all that stuff right there. But it was something that is hard to, like, recognize, or like, there are things I had in life, but there are things that really hits hard with things start to hit hard when you start realizing people who can't or don't have these things. I know, like, I have a stable life, on paper, there's nothing really to complain about. But you kind of feel like, or what I kind of feel like, was that the purpose was, like, kind of non-existence. Like, waking up not to live, yet let alone to kind of survive. Like, I was going through the motions to say, like, I done it. What kind of things hit the fan, I'm thinking, like, the only thing I can really do is, you should do if you're a Christian, pray. And the prayer was very simple. It was just, Father, what should I do next? Like, I have no idea what to do next. Now, I had no doubt my prayer would be answered, but, based on my own past experiences and stuff, but it was just when and how, which, kind of came by quickly at the time. During that week, that Sabbath, when I, kind of got to go back some, because I had to go back on the Saturday and then tell what happened for Sunday and Monday, I kind of made a point to kind of slow down and immerse myself in Scripture. I was reading the book of Joshua at the time period, but then I was like, dang, let me go back and read, like, the first 5 books again. Let's try to, really, really in depth for some reason. I forget the main reason why I did that. I didn't really record or write down why. But I know I wanted to go back and record, or go back from Genesis instead of Joshua. At the time, I planned reading Genesis chapter 1 to 6. I planned reading it, listening to different audios, hearing Bible study from someone else. It was kind of like a mixed bag of different things. It really did not go smoothly as I thought it was. Sunday I read the Septuagint version of Genesis chapter 1 verse 6. And then Monday I kind of watched the video. It was like basically a 3 hour long sermon going through the background. My background was doing things. I wasn't really focused on a lot of that stuff, really, honestly. There's only like 2 points in that whole thing that kind of like really made me think from that, or not made me think, but I actually kind of focused on during that video. The first point was the pastor, or I think he calls him pastor. I don't know. He kind of brought the meanings, or the meaning people say the meanings are in Genesis chapter 5. Man appointed, moral sorrow, the blessed God shall come down teaching. His death shall bring bear despair and rest, which I heard before, but that is not what that means. Those names say a totally different thing. If you look into the translations, it basically just says man to set man, son of self, worker of iron, praise of God, the sin, initiate man of the dark. It was the sin of Cain and rest. It didn't realize me. So that part was kind of like out the window when I was like, okay, that's not what that means. But it's really the second part that was simple, that was really impactful. That's like, it's kind of crazy, it's impactful at the time period looking back. It was that, man needs to work. It's not that work, well, work is a necessity part of life. It's not just a rule or commandment. It's like a fundamental part of how we are meant to live. You kind of hear it again, remind me of the faith, and action kind of goes hand in hand. I knew it before and heard it before plenty of times, but we look at stories like in Abraham or Noah having faith in God. Guess what? Abraham had to physically move from one location to another. Noah had to physically build a boat. A boat didn't just drop from the sky. At the time, beforehand, a long time, I thought, man, God would take action for me. Like, I had to get rid of these Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the past. I think, oh man, he's going to burn these cards in my hand. I'm going to stop playing these things. Like some cosmic intervention or something like that. But, kind of one day when I was at Amazon working the time period, I was at work and I was like, dang, I'm going to throw my cards away. When I came home, I just threw them all away. It was just easy as part of the time period. And there's a whole different story for Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But that's a lot of things that happen. It wasn't that the idea that man is not supposed to just sit down and just read the Bible 40 hours a week. Well, unless that's your specific job. But man not typically supposed to do that stuff. And kind of look back on the Sabbath day was that if you work during the week, you kind of enjoy that Sabbath day rest way more easier. If you feel like you didn't done enough during the week, you kind of don't take advantage of that Sabbath day or that rest day. And you truly try to appreciate it a lot more. Oh yeah, I do try to keep the Sabbath, and if you want to talk about the Sabbath, I can talk about it and all that stuff. It's like 8 minutes in the video, so I don't know how far I can go into that. But things kind of hit differently. We hear things the second, third time around, and for me, I can hear things like 10, 20 times for me to actually realize these things. They remind me that even in prayer, it's not just about asking; it's about just being ready to act when the answer comes. And later in that day, I kind of needed to rest, and I had plans to train someone next morning at 6:30. But I decided to sacrifice some sleep to watch a live debate that went to 11 o'clock about Christians arguing about what's it called, supposed to follow the law or not. And honestly, it did get a little intense. The dialogue could obviously be fed more smoothly, but I was always intrigued in discussion and how people talk about it. But a lot of times I see these disagreements that usually boils down to a handful of laws of the law and all that stuff. But it usually boils down to this: people don't want to be proven wrong. People have to be stuck on one point, which is, I guess, that works for a debate. But I don't see people changing that, change that on mine. I don't think it really was productive that much. But I feel like they had to decide of whether Christians should or shouldn't follow the law. Certain things, they could have got a little more productive in a sense. But anyway, I kind of know this kind of a little off topic, but it kind of leads on for the next coming weeks or the next week or so. What happened to the story? I just know by Monday kind of came to the end, and I still kind of found myself wrestling the same questions. And that time I kind of felt scripture. I spent time in scripture trying to get some insight. Got kind of Tuesday done. I kind of resolved to stay open, but I kind of wait for clarity that could give you direction. There's a lot more for this story, but I gotta cut these up in these TikTok lives. If you want to know part 2, let me know, and I'll actually make it or not make it. But if not, I'll just it is what it is.